I've been working in my brown paper journal, and today I'm going to share 3 ways I've been using my scrap papers to work in this journal. So we've got pockets, we've got collage clusters, we've got all sorts. So let's get straight into it with this little pocket that I'm going to make. And of course I had to use brown paper within this, so I wanted to mix the brown paper with the translucency of this little glassine envelope, and I decided to do a collage cluster on the front, so just a little collection of different papers all gathered and layered together. So I've got like little stamps, little like scraps and offcuts of bits and pieces, some washi tape as well, even the DIY like faux washi tape or like collage strips that I made in a previous video. I've used one of those just to tear off because they are so handy to just have as like pre-made collage fodder ready to work in pages, and you also get the added bonus of the fact that it's all quite cohesive because I'm using similar colours then that are already within this journal. And in terms of where I am focusing adding the papers and the collage, I'm leaning towards the left hand corner here, as you can see, just so as to like not overwhelm the entire little pocket. And then I added some stitched detailing just up the side here, so this added a pop of pink, and I just love adding a little bit of hand stitching because it adds such a charming like imperfect feel to it, I think, because it's different to machine stitching where it's a bit wonky, it's a bit like all over the place really, but I do really love the texture that it adds and the pop of colour. I think especially with the neutral palette here with all of the browns that are going on, having that colour is actually quite nice, which is rare for me to say as somebody who is more of a neutral person. If you are familiar with my journals and you've seen the different things I've created within them, I do steer towards that muted palette, but I think the pop of pink there, it really does shine against the neutral background. So I decided to use this little napkin here just because it had again sort of a colour palette that matched, and I used it to just cut out some of the words from the napkin actually, and I have that as my little focal point. And then you can see there, putting the brown paper tag into that pocket I think is a nice little tie-in with the background, but it doesn't detract too much. So that's probably something that I won't then decorate too much because I've already got the decoration on the pocket itself, so that will probably be more for just like writing. I'm imagining using like a brown fine liner to write like a quote or something within that, or I could even write on the back of the tag and have it more of like a hidden journaling spot within this journal. So of course I couldn't let this page go without having something floral on it. I add flowers to everything I feel like, and so I'm just fussy cutting a flower here from a book page, and I actually chose one that was this sort of like off-white cream colour, something more neutral. I just thought because I had that bright pink on the page, I didn't want to choose anything that would compete with it, so I just decided to keep it fairly neutral, and I think it tied in quite nicely with everything else that I had going on for that little pocket. And if you saw in the previous videos I did of this brown paper journal, I was kind of like dotting around the place in terms of prepping the pages, but I'm gonna start working in it like chronologically, like front to back, and not necessarily finishing all the pages, but I really want to get them to a point where I've done like the decoration and the collage and any tip-ins. So like here I've added another page just with a jelly print actually that I did a while ago that was like the perfect size to add into this journal. I think it added a nice bit of colour. It was a Payne's grey and titanium buff, I want to say, for the paint, so it blended in quite nicely but still added like a little touch of something, a bit of contrast to the rest of the pages, because I think that's the thing with the brown paper, it's all quite like monotone, and so you've really got to play into that contrast of having like the whites or something that will just break it up. So something that will pop against it, or something that will help to play into the warmth maybe that is on the brown paper. And I think it's great because there's so many different ways you can go to it versus having, like, if you just had a plain like cream or white paper journal, you can only really like add stuff to that. So that's what I decided to do here with this collage, is I actually used pieces of cream paper and just white paper, and even this like cut off piece from packaging, but I kind of used my collage as negative space to kind of carve out where I wanted the focal point on this page to be, so it kind of lifts everything up, I feel like, and then that way when I come in to add my washi sticker onto it with the image, it doesn't get lost then on the brown paper because I've already brought it up, and so you can see then the image on top of it, if that makes sense. So that's kind of what I was thinking as I was putting this together, was to make sure I had that area on the page where I could see the details still of what was going on. And then I just added some smaller bits of collage papers here, so like some tissue paper and some offcuts, just to have some more details, and also to have the different like shapes and sizes of collage papers as well, because I tend to work in kind of that, you know, your background, your middle ground and your foreground in terms of larger collage pieces through to the smaller ones that you will use on the top, then just to maybe cover up areas where you've got things overlapping, and it just adds some nice texture to it as well. So in terms of text, I debated adding something onto the brown paper section that's on the top left there, but I ended up just going for some stamping. So I have these tiny little alphabet stamps, and I decided to use these just onto a spare page of book paper, where obviously there isn't any text. And again, that was me playing with the negative space in terms of trying to carve out somewhere to have on the page that you could see the text. I didn't want it to get lost on the brown paper, and so I just tore it to size and then added it onto the page. And I just used one word because I didn't want it to get too busy on this page. I felt like it was quite not cluttered, but with the way that the collage cluster was kind of set up, there was a lot going on in that like little section of the page, and so I felt like there needed to be a bit of breathing space on the page as well. So that's why I decided to use this cream piece of paper here. And doing the stamping like that of different words is actually something that I do in one of my other journals as well. And I was clearly in the mood of having a pop of pink on my pages, because I came in just with a coloured pencil there and circled the stamping that I had done, which just helped to draw your eye to it, I suppose, in terms of a bit of a focal point then on that little section of the page. And that was pretty much it for that. Like, I felt like I didn't really need to add too much more to it, otherwise it would get a little bit too busy. So I decided to focus on creating a little collage cluster here on the other side of the page. Now, because I had that jelly printing pattern, I knew I wanted to use some papers that were a bit more plain and not as busy to offset the pattern that I had going on, because I didn't want to like compete with that. So I just used a little bit of brown paper there as well, because obviously this is the brown paper journal, so I felt like I need to try and use at least some of it on each of the pages. And I'm just adding a stamp here, but like turned upside down, because that way I could keep it fairly neutral in terms of the colours. And I just love going through this little tin. It's little scraps that I like collect from when I'm doing different projects. I feel like basically I can just never throw away a piece of paper, because I'm like, well, what if I need to use that on a journal page? Like, that could come in handy. And so that's how I end up with just all these piles of collage papers. And then I feel really pleased then when I actually use a piece that is perfect for a little collage that I do. So with all of these collage clusters, I find that, yeah, I do collect a lot of papers, and so it's really nice to go through them and add them to pages like this. So I suppose this method of prepping pages and decorating them is a really great way if you need to do any like scrap busting, if you've got loads of papers as well, like me. Just being able to have these little like decorative clusters that you can prep just like on their own, or you can add them to little corners or sections of your pages and then come back to them when you want to, you know, finish off the page, add a bit of writing, etc. I actually just added a bit of found phrases here, so just little cutouts from book pages. I really like to do that on these collage clusters because I feel like it doesn't detract too much, but it kind of draws you in and you have that like little small pocket of something on the page. So, you know, I'll probably end up adding maybe other text onto the page as well. I'm thinking like a lettered quote or something like that with a brush pen, but just having those little like cut out words and phrases like dotted around the pages is something that I'm really enjoying doing within my journals. And so I decided to use the cutout flower here for this page as its pop of colour. So I guess I've kind of done it in 3 different ways there, with stitching, with a coloured pencil, and then also with the imagery here. So staying fairly neutral, but then just having one pop of colour, I think is the way that this journal seems to be going. And I'm really enjoying the process of just seeing like the different ways that I can work with this brown paper journal and having it feel like it feels quite scrappy, but in quite like an eclectic way, which I'm really enjoying. So that's the little cluster there. As you can see, it's kind of peeking off the side of the page and leaves a little bit of empty room still here for journaling. So I hope you enjoyed seeing these 3 different ways that I've been working within my brown paper journal, and if you are making one too, I'd love to know what you're doing.